Hello, and welcome to The Secret of My Success. This is a podcast where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling life. I am your host, Erin Curran. I am joined today by Sabrina Fajardo. Just to give you a little bit of a snapshot about who she is. In a vibrant multicultural environment, Sabrina's journey with art began from a young age. She found solace and happiness in a world of artistic expression. A myriad of artistic influences have shaped her creativity into something truly unique and intense, leading her to become a talented designer, a visual brand creator, a book illustrator, and a gifted painter. You can see some of her paintings in the background. Her work transcended mere talent or skill. It's a deep personal experience, an avenue for self-healing and for growth. This journey has allowed her to refine her artistry and discover a process infused with soulfulness and depth, allowing deep connections with clients, understanding their visions, and helping them manifest their dreams. Each project she undertakes reinforces her commitment to enriching lives, one soulful creation at a time. Sabrina, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm
Now,
excited.
pardon?
I'm excited.
I am too. One of the reasons why I'm excited is part of your artistic expression comes through in the cover of my book, Hate Your Way to Happiness. So it's been a joy to work with you over the years because I really, it's been fun to know how much time and energy you invest in really getting to know your clients. So, thank you for that.
I truly enjoy that part of the work that I do, whether it's for a brand or it's for a piece of art or your cover of your book. I did your logo years ago too.
Yes, yeah, I actually still have that logo on my business cards for the unmistakable entrepreneur.
That's awesome.
Well, it's
And
like all of your work is so playful, I mean, and colorful, like what we see on the wall behind you. And it's just you are that vibrant person. It's like your art is truly a reflection of you.
I definitely that's me when I'm in my best. And I can see now the difference, and it's kind of a guidance point for me to know where to go to, um, because that initial playfulness that you bring as a child has
Mm.
to come out in my life every day or every week so that things flow with more ease in my life. And that's something I'm really very clear about now, which I was not clear before. I didn't understand that. But it has come to clarity for me that I need to put myself in those places constantly in order for me to become a creative person in every way, not only in my art and what I do as work, but in life in general for it to flow with ease. Yeah.
So that's really, I mean, all that I know of you, I can see that playfulness. And what I'm hearing, I think I'm hearing you say is there are times when that playfulness has been absent or you weren't allowing it. Like, how did you discover that that was something that needed to be put at the forefront?
I think it has come in a process. You need to understand certain things in your life in order to get to the next step, right?
Right.
So I learned through living life, through what I experience. So as time goes by, I've learned that sometimes you need to go to where you don't want to go, but you need to be there in order to bring clarity to what is it that you need to learn to focus on. And
Yeah.
that's how my life has happened, whether it's been leaving Colombia when I, decided that it was time, and then having clarity on why was I needing to be on my own for a little bit, or years ago, I was with my children once they arrived here and we lost our home and everything. And
Mm.
I then realized, you know what? This is exactly where I had to be in
Mm.
order to learn something. And, things happen, a relationship, and oh God, what did I learn in this relationship? And I don't end relationships not hating someone. I thank them because I learned something valuable, right? So this is a journey. This is a journey. We live this life as a journey. And I own theartjourney.com because I'm an artist, right?
Mm.
And I'm an artist in every sense. I feel life as an artist. I express myself as an artist, even if I'm not painting. I think as I guess that's it. I don't know, but that's what I think I do. And so this is a journey, and you're in constant evolution. And when you ask for something new, you sometimes don't realize that maybe you need to learn some lessons in order to get prepared for that new, right?
That's for sure. Like
That's
I know that sometimes in Buddhism we say that you don't necessarily get what you want, but you will always get what you need. And it's
yeah.
not always fun to see that this is what I need. But on the backside, if if I approach it with gratitude, I'm usually able to see why this particular situation served me.
Yes, as I moved last year, a year and a half ago, to Central Texas from Florida. And I'm originally mostly Colombian. I was not born there, but I lived most of my life in Colombia. And every time there's something new to face, right?
Mm.
But not aware of that before. And now as I approach life, I'm always being curious of what why am I placed in a certain circumstance? Why am I feeling in a certain way? What am I learning from that situation that I can be aware of, and being here, there's a lot of things that I wanted, which I didn't get. I totally got the opposite.
Damn it.
Has been very, very interesting, and it has opened my eyes to know exactly where I have to go to, where I have to put my attention to. And it doesn't come exactly from this particular experience of moving, but it's been a process, like I say, a journey. During COVID, I was really focused on childhood trauma,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
I took some courses on that, and it was very interesting because I started looking at my whole life from that perspective, and
Mm.
how I played that game of, the trauma over and over and over and over. And it still comes back. It doesn't go away, but you go like, now I'm able to look at it. Like, oh, there you are. Go away, shoot. let's
Well,
let's go.
yeah, no, exactly. You mentioned a few minutes ago that you're starting to put the pieces together. And, thank you for sharing about digging in and taking a look at that trauma. Is that where you started to get curious about the things that you had gotten and you hadn't gotten and what the contribution was in your life?
I think it has been one of the biggest and more deepest uh findings in my journey. Oh, sorry. Yes, it was very interesting when I took that, because I've taken a lot of courses, and each one has brought a new insight in my life. But that one was particularly special because it kind of gave me a view of my whole life.
Mm.
The things that affected me, to even my previous, my parents and what they went through and things, because I inherited a lot of that stuff. And then seeing how my life, how I lived my life, how I lived relationships, how I lived my relationship with what I did with my career,
Hmm.
um, how I lived my relationship with art.
Mm.
That was an important one. So after COVID, that's when I chose to move. And I chose to move because I said, you know what? Art has been in my life for always. I've done graphic design, yes, but art, painting was something that became really hard for me. And I was unable to sit in front of a canvas and paint for a
During.
long time. I tried it. No, for a long time. I had been doing a lot of digital stuff, which
Okay.
was easier for me because I could, because it was not so physical
Mm.
related. It's not that it's bad or anything. I love illustrating, digitally. It's
Right.
wonderful. But that relationship you have with a canvas is very different.
Right.
It's a physical thing where you touch the materials. You're very in tune with that, with the senses. And that's something that is very strong in me. I'm very, very sense driven.
Very
I have
tactile.
very tactile, very visual, very, auditive.
Mm.
And I that's a place for me to play too. So when I discovered those things, after COVID, I said, you know what? I've put art on the last place on my list of to-dos because I was very scared. And I said, I'm going to put it at the front and
Wow.
I'm just going to evolve through it. I'm just going to paint and evolve. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to, I'm going to do it. And I started painting, and I did my first painting on canvas after a long time. And I had tried several times, but I never liked it. Never liked the end product or anything. And
Mm.
I was not going to judge it or anything. And guess what? I loved it. I loved the end product. And it got me so excited. I knew this is this is really my answer. And to add to that, I made a post the other day about it. Maybe in 2015, I got a download, a
Okay.
message. And the message was, the day you start doing art, your life, your abundance will change.
Oh.
And I tried and disregarded and tried and disregarded and tried and disregarded. Of course, a journey.
Right. So you've got
And
to
then,
decide to try it your own way. It can't be that way.
no, it is such an important thing in my life. And it's still, this year for me, this past 2023 was a year to really see a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
But the contrast.
Yes.
What I saw myself, because I had a solo exhibit, my
Hmm.
first solo exhibit in my life, and it came like, dude, it came out of nowhere.
Oh,
It
wow.
was magic, and it was wonderful. How much um can you bring into reality from feeling that happiness, from feeling in your in what you're meant to do,
Mm.
right?
Well, I
And
think one of the big things is kind of like you're saying, it's like you've had this feeling, this desire inside of you for so long, You're like, I'll get to it later. Someday I'll be ready. It sounds good, but I don't want to go there and relive that uncomfort, that discomfort. I don't want to go to that place. And once you do, it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it's like, I also imagine that because you said during COVID, you worked on the childhood trauma, you worked on some of the different deeper issues and concerns. How do you feel that aspect played into really birthing your art?
It's not only about the art, it's about life in general. I
Mm-hmm.
think it helped me bring the ability to look at myself from the kind of from the outside of when I'm going through things, right?
Yeah.
Why am I place? Why am I going through this? What can I learn from this? Because the that richness of the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That brings that possibility of learning something new. I'm very curious when I am in places, because it happens, on and off. One day I'm in a great place, and then maybe the next day I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But curiosity is, why am I here right now? So why am I going through this? What can I learn from this situation I'm feeling right now? And it's uncomfortable. And maybe I want to cry. Maybe I'll cry.
Yeah.
I'll let myself cry. Maybe I'll let myself express my feelings right now and and go through it so I can get to another place. And I think that's part of a big experience in 2023 for me.
Yeah.
Both like I said, the contrast being there. I even got sick last year.
Yeah.
Um, and as I was at the hospital back in March, um, that first day I received a message and I said, "You're detoxifying." That was a message I got. Okay, not very nice to detoxify this way, but okay. It was
Well,
it
if
was
you're
it.
if you're not going to actively do it yourself, we'll help you out.
Yeah, exactly. But it was very clear for me that I needed to go through certain things that I uh, had to learn in order to get to where I had put myself or planned to put myself into. I moved here. I wanted to be around my daughter that lives here and meet a community and blah, 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 all these things that I thought before I was not getting.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? I get sick. My son got sick. I was away from community
Mm.
a lot, feeling lonely, right? And, you know, it taught me that I'm, again, how people say, you have to feel it and really experience it. Feeling the loneliness. Am I really lonely?
Mm.
Or is it is it just me feeling it? I
Mm.
had to go through that process because that had been one of my traumas in life, right?
Mm.
My dad died when I was a child, all these different things that happen in life. So being in a new place with people that are very different. I come from Colombia, and
Mm.
I'm in Texas, in Central Texas, in a place that's I would say very different from me. And how can
Imagine. Yeah.
yeah, very different from me. And then looking at myself and thinking, okay, so is this my judgment of myself in a different place? How can I look at this in a different way?
Mm.
Feel part of, right? And that has been something that also happened, was triggered to me for me during COVID because of all the things that were going on during COVID. How can I become part of this world
Mm.
in a different way? So yeah, it's been a very interesting process for me. Also, coming back to that sense sensitive person, right? Uh, and learning for me that this new year is going to be a lot about playing,
Yeah.
a lot about playing. Last year I didn't play enough, but I know that the times when I put myself in play mode,
Hmm.
like going for walks, I take my phone and I take pictures of little things that happen around that you normally don't pay attention to.
Hmm.
Like a little leaf. The other day I was walking and the ground was kind of frozen a little bit,
Yeah.
and I could see the design on the edges of some leaves on the ground and some kind of flowers, and there were eyes, like a design, like a beautiful design. So I walk and I go like, surprise me, universe, with something, something. So I walk and I'm paying attention, which led me to understand that has always been my original Sabrina as a child. That
That curiosity.
that curiosity, which makes us have fun and have joy in life, have connection to the world, and have connection to people. When I go out and meet someone for coffee, I go with that same sense, curious. What is the world going to surprise me with today, in
Yeah.
this conversation? And it normally happens in such a magical way. Uh,
So how did you how did you wake yourself up to this curiosity? Because I'm hearing in your experience that we started out with life doesn't always give you what you want, but it always gives you what you need. And you weren't accomplishing what you felt like you wanted to accomplish. But then, you were still doing art, but it wasn't as connected and as tactile and as fully expressed as I feel like, I mean, it's obvious because you can see it on the wall behind you. Um, you've shifted from not connecting to seeking connection. How would you say you made that transition?
um, I thought I was connecting before. That's a funny thing, right? But because of that, I think I had to see the disconnection and then figure out that the original me was so connected. And we forget that as children we are,
Mhm.
and that we don't question so much. We don't judge so much. We don't judge ourselves. We
Mm.
think we're right. We play a lot. We play a lot. And I think that life has to be like that. We need to play every day. We need to be curious and have a very light perspective about life and the people that we meet in order to come back and be able to be productive in whatever we do. Um, I notice that a big difference when I go out and I connect to people, I connect to nature. My son has been volunteering at a farm. When I go there, I took some pictures the other day because I was talking to all the animals. That that connection to what's alive around you
Mm.
is so nurturing.
Really, it
It's
is.
so and and so easy, and it's so beautiful. And then I come back and I'm fulfilled. I'm filled with love. I'm filled with creativity and thoughts and downloads and things, and I can sit and be more productive.
Mm.
But if I stay here at home thinking, oh, I have to do this, I have to design this, oh, I have to blah blah blah, oh, I have to pay this or something like that, right?
Right.
I stay completely stuck. So that for me is the answer. I have to go play and then come back and be productive. And by being in a place where I was not playing at all, just stuck at home, you know, even being sick, I had little glimpses of that, because what I did when I was in bed here at home is that I started taking out smaller canvases, putting them on my bed with everything around me,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and painting, because that's where my the way I could start healing
Mm.
started. I realized. So it comes in little glimpses, and then you forget and you go back. Oh, yeah. So that's why I put myself in positions. I go out and I walk and I take my phone and I purposely move myself to that playful mode.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
really powerful because like what I hear you saying is that it's something that happens so naturally and effortlessly that it's really easy to miss. And all of a sudden, we're in this dark cave, this space where there is no life, and we feel empty and we feel gray and down. And then if I can remind myself when I am feeling that color and that play and that curiosity to wake up and turn around and take a quick look. What was it that I just did that fulfilled me? And how can I purposefully and intentionally add this into my life if for no other reason than in that moment it feels good? But what we hear in all of the personal development courses and spirituality is it's like, this is the wellspring. But we're so asleep as we go through life, distracted by bills, distracted by responsibilities and dramas and fights and arguments and all of this silly little stuff, that it eventually just gets covered over. Those tiny moments of light are essential. And what I hear is you've trained yourself to intentionally focus on those to reawaken that playful spirit.
Yes. And it's such a powerful tool to manifest.
Mm,
Um, because of course we're talking about vibration, right?
right,
No, no wonder I do things with such amount of color. And
right.
even photographs, if I do photographs and they're in black and white, they're intense. They're intense in contrast and things. I love black and white. My ex-husband was is a photographer, and I learned to love black and white and intensity, the
Hmm.
beauty of it, right? And so there's intensity, that something that makes you feel, right? Um, so what I was while you were talking about, I was thinking, how can we manifest through playing? And art is a playful place
Yes.
for, even if you're not if you don't consider yourself an artist. I'm not a singer. I like singing. I don't have a terrible voice, but I don't have an educated voice. And I've learned that when I sing, and I'm singing with love,
Mm-hmm.
not me, but with love within it, and I set the intention, I vibrate in such a high place. I'm connecting. Like when I'm painting, I'm connecting. Uh, the same thing as when I'm dancing. If I let myself, with my my hair, and I don't feel so like, oh, people are looking at me. I even dance with eyes when I go to places to dance.
Yes.
I dance with my eyes closed, and I
That's
bump into
brilliant. That's
I bump,
absolutely, yeah, you have to.
but I just try to express myself with my body, and because that's playfulness. That is where I find myself with the ability to express, to let that come out, and
Mm.
just be. Self-expression is something that's very, very important for me. I never gave myself permission before without judgment.
Mm.
Would not sing because I thought everyone would judge me. So if I sang in public, my voice would crumble um, in pieces. It couldn't come out well. I couldn't speak in public. Oh, much less. I would. That was
Yeah.
horrible. Horrible. So doing something like what we're doing right now, no.
Well, thank you for being brave and courageous and agreeing to be on this podcast.
It is a wonderful thing because self-expression is part of that playfulness.
It absolutely is. And I think what you were pointing to a little bit ago is even if you don't consider yourself an artist, find a way to express. It's I love painting ceramics. I love the adult coloring books, not the adult coloring books, but like, the grown-up patterned coloring books. Because it's like I always go to art supply stores and I'm buying pencils and I'm buying oil, crayon, pastels, and all of this stuff. And with a coloring book, I don't have to worry about whether I am creating a Monet. I can just take this palette of colors with this drawing that like attracts me. I flip through the book, I find something that calls to my spirit in that moment, and then I just use whatever colors feel good. And
Mhm.
that's my way to express. And with the ceramics, it's kind of the same thing. I pick up something that already sort of has a shape and a pattern in my mind, and then I just fill in the blanks with that. And it's almost like I'm teaching myself, but really it's allowing
Yeah.
myself flow.
One thing I learned early on is that sometimes we want to structure it so much. One
Mm,
gift I got from my parents was they didn't put me in art classes until I was like 15 years old. My mom, because my dad was not there anymore, but my mom always said, I want you to express yourself the way that you want to express yourself and the way you see the world,
mm,
right? And I don't want anyone to tell you how to paint a tree or paint a person until you're ready to do it with your own expression, and then you can learn how to do it technically
mm-hmm,
in order to have more of an ability to you know destroy it or build it or whatever along the way, because I had no ability to do that before, but I had a wild imagination,
yeah,
right? And they loved it. My parents were like, I'm so thankful for that, because many people are born into families that if they say I'm going to be an artist, no. And they have to fight with that. No, for me it was the opposite. I was in art school and I told my mom I'm going to study graphic design because I did a whole year of both,
yeah.
and cried. She cried because she wanted me to just study art. And I think she was very wise. She was very wise.
She could see you before you could see you, it sounds like.
Oh, definitely. That was interesting. But you know what? I chose graphic design and it has been great in so many ways because it brought so much knowledge and so many abilities to do so many things that are part of being it's being an artist, only that you're doing something for something specifically,
Right.
communicate. Um, but when you're doing art, it's more for you, and maybe for other people, but it's a very different approach. So, but it's still art. It's still
That's a
art.
very
So
personal journey. Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
more personal.
because I think what you were pointing to a few minutes ago, it's how you're viewing the world. Because really, at the end of the day, how we view the world is what determines how the journey goes.
Right.
And at a very basic level, artistic expression, how free your artistic expression is sort of like a window into the soul of how freely you view the world and how open you are. If everything has to be in a particular way, if a box is all you have, then a box is all you will ever have. But
Right.
when you can really open up beyond the edges of that box and expand into true possibility, and you can take those walls down, then you can create beyond what you think you know is possible.
Yes, exactly. And art gives you the opportunity to see where you are also. I think
Mm.
I here I did an exercise the other day with a friend lady, and we were talking about feelings, right?
Yeah.
And I was going through some troubles that day, and we did an exercise. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, how
I
cool.
was so this was about um, being afraid, and that's how I felt. Exactly. I just let myself express my fear
Mm.
there, and because we were doing an exercise about the past,
Mm.
and then this one was being angry. How does angry feel? What colors are there? And the things that come up when you just let yourself express. This one was about being sad.
Oh, wow.
Come out like that. And this one was about being frustrated.
Wow.
So after that, I was feeling so good.
Yeah.
But I let so much out through that
Mm.
exercise. And those are the things that I let myself do often because it just is a vehicle to bring it out. And
Mm.
I'm learning about using art as not only a way to manifest things, but a way to really heal a lot of your emotional stuff
Mm-hmm.
and let go through it and then build from that through art too. I've used a lot of my illustrations for manifesting,
Yeah.
specifically, and I'm using the painting. So I'm adding in some of them, not these, but symbolism. But in my illustrations, like the ones maybe you've seen the trees that are like a couple, and those illustrations I made for manifesting. So they got a lot of symbolism for manifesting. But I'm finding out every day more and more things. How can we exercise? How can we exercise our emotions to to figure out ways to manifesting things? So
Mm.
I'm learning things that I'm going to probably soon this year be sharing with other people to help people deal with emotions and then guide them to manifest things.
It's really
It's kind of,
powerful. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that brings to mind like vision boarding. So many people will try to do vision boarding, and I know when I first started doing vision boarding years ago, it's cutting out a bunch of words because the pictures never really fit quite right. And I've gotten to the point where I started to expand my horizons by just letting myself pick images with colors or images that struck me in a particular way. And I played a game one time where I created an entire 2x3 poster board with nothing but images. I think there were 2 words down at the bottom in the center that I added. And it was such a fascinating exercise because as, human beings, we communicate with words, but the truth of the matter is, what is it? Maybe it's like only 20% of what we communicate is actually the words. The rest of it is intonation, body language, inflection, all of these different things. The words themselves are a small fraction, but we pretend like it's the totality. I can
Mm-mm.
use a particular word in many different ways. My most favorite four-letter F-bomb can be used to express excitement, can be used to express frustration, anger, joy, so many different, and it's the same vehicle. So I love what you're saying as far as like you've taken vision boards now to an uber personal level by expressing it with your paints and with your canvas. Um, that's just brilliant,
You,
absolutely brilliant.
you infuse you infuse the work with the feeling, because
Mhm.
that's an important thing, the feeling. I have a great capacity to visualize, which not many people have. I learned that not everyone thinks in images, right? I used to think that everyone did before. Um, but the ability to visualize myself in a feeling, that is a really cool thing. I was doing some meditations a couple months ago from Joe Dispenza,
Yeah.
where he uh, gives you words. How does it feel to be blah blah blah? And the only thing that comes to me is I visualize myself in that feeling.
Mm.
So, you know, how does it feel to be alive? And I visualize myself alive. What would I be doing in that moment? And I feel it in such a strong way. Or how does you feel to be very strong? Or what is it? Yeah, something like strong. I visualize myself, pushing something and non-stopping, but it's that visualizing thing, that image thing. It's so important for me. Um, it, it's the feeling. So a vision board can't be only words. It has to be something that sparks that feeling inside. It's such an important thing, and you must give yourself a permission when you have the vision board to use it constantly to feel.
And
To
I
feel.
think something that you alluded to earlier is really key because you're a very visual person. I'm a very auditory person. So for me, words are highly valuable. And it was definitely coming through in my vision boards. But one of the things that you had pointed to earlier is that judgment, fear of judgment from people who are going to see the vision board. If you're taking a vision board class, people are going to judge how you did it and how you put it together. But then there's also this self regulation of the, oh, I shouldn't want this or I shouldn't do it this way. I mean, really, I think that as much as the exercise for me to create a vision board with nothing but images was powerful, if I let that stop me, if I said, you're not allowed to use words, and it's my first few times, anything that is going to limit me from exploring that, I think would be part of that judgment. And it's, if we're talking about the journey, one of the most valuable things that I've learned through my process, and I know you and I have swam in some of the same personal development kinds of circles, is if it looked like it had to be a certain way, I am fantastic at mimicking all day long, but I would never really get to the lesson, to the heart of what needed to be gotten, because I felt like I had to mimic and copy based on somebody else's judgment, their experience, their assessment or opinion. And one of the things that I've really come to terms with to learn to let go of is the box that judgment puts me in. Most of the time, it's just me being embarrassed to express the way I express. So I think that freedom to play and that freedom to express a lot of the discomfort that comes when we start to go into those places, the discomfort is from the judgment. And I love what you were saying about really bringing awareness to what is the lesson here? What is going on in my life, and what is my life trying to point me toward? The difference between doing your art digitally and doing it in a very media rich way. I almost see that evolution from your digital art over to your tactile art as being you taking that governor off and really expressing yourself fully and, in my opinion, deliciously.
Yeah. Yeah. We take away the delicious because
Mm,
we judge ourselves too much. And the delicious can go in so many ways, but we judge ourselves so much during our life experience. We think that we're judged. That's a funny thing. And sometimes we're judging others because we think that they're judging us. It's like it's a game we play, like, oh, this person did or is thinking about that, and it's just us putting the judgment on them to that they judge us, and it's all about us. And that's always a good place to look into, why am I seeing this person act that way sometimes, you know
yes. Why do I feel
why
like I want to jump in and correct her right now because she said it that way? Or why do I feel the need to even bother telling him that I'm going to do it differently because he really doesn't give two craps about how I'm going to be expressing myself?
it's their experience.
Yes.
It, they're going through their own experience. No matter what they tell you, it's all about me.
Yep.
What I get from, sometimes I have, some arguments with my daughter, who kind of, sometimes it's a little bit controlling. And then I go like, okay, why am I seeing that in her?
Mm,
Seeing that in her. Why am I feeling this? What is it about me? Who am I being right now? How am I feeling? What am I going through?
mm-hmm.
Seeing that in her, right? Because it's not about anyone else but me, my journey. I choose how to live it.
It certainly feels like it's about the other person. But we've alluded a little bit to the law of attraction and contrast. And one of the things that Abraham Hicks often says is there is no law of assertion. It is
Mhm.
only law of attraction. I can't push that noodle where I think I want it to go. So whatever is coming my way is only and always because this is how I view whatever it is that's going on. And if I truly am interested in experiencing some sort of a shift around this particular topic or aspect of my life, I get to look right here.
Exactly. It's my life.
Mhm.
It's my experience, and how I see it is from my eyes. And
That
there
sounds so, based on what we're taught in Western culture and civilization, it sounds so confusing and it sounds so selfish. But the truth of the matter is, I can only see the world through my experience and through my view. And one of the other things that I think is really brilliant that they share is, oh, so you don't want me to be living life according to how I view the world. You would prefer I view life according to how you view the world. And when I look at it from that kind of a perspective, then it's just completely ridiculous because then I turn it around and go, oh, well, I'm angry with that person for how they drive. And it's because I want them to conform to my set structure and how I think things should be done. So, how ridiculous is that? I mean, true selfishness is trying to demand somebody else conform to whatever story I made up for the day.
exactly. Yeah. It is very funny when you start looking at that and you go like, "Ha, that is fun." Instead of becoming so like we tend to be all drama queens. Oh, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And then when we just turn it around and see it with that perspective, it becomes funny.
It can, yes.
Become really funny and you go like, "Oh my God, I'm just being in my drama place today and not letting people be who they are and just, it just changes the perspective. For me, because I love humor,
Hmm.
it just becomes a little funny. And I look at myself sometimes when I'm playing that game of a victim,
Yeah,
go like, ooh, there you go, Sabrina. Ridiculous. that is that is funny. But I've learned to let it become lighter and lighter. Just have more compassion for myself. If I'm in there at that time, that day, it's okay. Next day is another day. I'll have fun next day. Right?
absolutely. I
It
love
is
that. There's
hard.
always another day.
It's like I used to tell my kids, oh what they would tell me, oh, I want to be on vacation all the time. And I go like, yeah, you wouldn't like vacation all the time because then you wouldn't know what vacation is. You need to have the time for, school and no vacation in order to know and enjoy how vacation is. So we like Abraham says, or people that channel, we learn from that contrast. If
Hmm.
we're not feeling too good, the next day is a possibility, right? How can we purposely work it to get there by being more aware of us, ourselves, this journey of loving everything in us, right?
Mm.
Little detail, the things that we kind of, the judgment of ourselves, love it too. You go like, oh God, there you go, judging yourself. Make it a little more fun, make it a little more light. I think that that's the point.
Sometimes it's fun to go to a break room and break stuff.
Yes, it can be
Sometimes it's fun to
awesome.
just
That's why I
haul
was
off and sing a heavy metal song at the top of your lungs as you're driving through
this
traffic. Yes, you,
it was a fun exercise because I got to express it through something else.
yeah,
Dancing, that's again why I say art expressions, different ones, are so much uh life changing because you get to just let it out. Like
yes.
you said, put some heavy metal and just jump and bang your head and go nuts or yell or whatever.
You get to let it out without killing someone and ending up in jail.
Yes, yes, and that's where I go to, looking at humanity and thinking about why do people go to these places? What happens? And for me, it's one of the commitments I've made in life is to learn to be very um compassionate.
Mm,
Compassion for me is such an important thing, and sometimes people, not many, understand that word really. They think that compassion is like permission, or you let them do whatever they want to do. It's being responsible for your life and understanding other people's life journey when they're not being responsible, I guess.
well, I think one of the things that comes up is an expression that I've heard is ruthless compassion. To be able to truly be compassionate towards somebody sometimes means to lay down the law. It
Yeah.
means to stop enabling. It means to reflect back, to allow someone to experience the effects of the causes that they've made.
Yes. I
Compassion,
always
go ahead.
I always explain when people ask me, and they got confused. I said, compassion is not permission.
Right. That's a brilliant way to state it. Yes.
Yeah, but for me, it has really let me look at myself. that way. And when I look at myself that way, I can look at humanity and what has been going on, uh, the things that affected me or didn't affect me but affect others
Mm.
with those eyes. And it softens the feeling. It softens the journey that we all are living as a whole, right? And starts that process of healing.
Yes.
I think it's such an important thing. I've done it. My mom was Polish. She, Jewish. I found out I'm Jewish after, she died. So many things in my past. And then, understanding the trauma that happened in her life that affected me too, as a community, right?
Mm.
And take responsibility on starting to look at the things that affected that and the people, and starting to dig into why those people became that way. For
Mhm.
me, it's such a, whew, uh, it gave me so much freedom in my heart to stop pointing out. I lived in Colombia, most of my life, in a country that had so much violence and things going on. And it was hard. It was hard. A lot of trauma from that too.
Mm.
Uh, Start going there. Why do people inherit that, right? Where does that come from? How has that been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries? And
Mm.
we inherit that, all of us,
Mhm.
because we're all part of it, right? Um, yeah, through COVID, I questioned a lot of those things because there was all this war of words and pointing fingers, and you got the vaccine, you didn't get it, you're wrong, you're wrong. Everyone is wrong. You're white, you're black, you're yellow, you're red, all of that. you know right, all of this, I questioned everything. I put myself in a place where I even told how have I made part of any of these
Mhm.
in my past, where I lived, where, you know, what group I was in, if I made part in just a minimal, in a minimal thought or something,
Right.
because we're all responsible. So we need to look at ourselves also with that compassion and that responsibility of how can we change this? So for me, a big chunk of it was compassion,
Yeah.
learning learning to look at everyone and where they are, even if they're being horrible. Why are they there? Right?
Yeah. And again, like you say, just because you might be in an abusive relationship or, somebody might have attacked your family or assaulted your individual being, it doesn't mean permission. It doesn't mean allowing. It just means don't carry it with you for the rest of your life and hate the next 50 people because of
Yes.
what one person did based on how they grew up or what they suffered.
Yeah.
It's the old story of the two Buddhist monks who are walking down the banks of a river, and they've taken a vow of celibacy not to touch a woman. And at one point they encounter a woman who's trying to cross the river, and one monk picks her up, carries her across, and then comes back across the river to join the other monk. And they walk for a couple of hours. And the second monk turns to the first and says, "How could you? I just can't let it be anymore. How could you have touched that woman? We took a vow." And the first monk looks at him and says, "I put her down 2 hours ago.
And you're still here.
You're still carrying her." So really, like, suffer what there is to suffer and enjoy what there is to enjoy, because it's circling back. Why am I experiencing this? What is there for me to learn through this process through this interaction, through this experience, what is coming up for me that either tells me that there's something for me to address, or is basically just giving me an idea of what my preference in this kind of a situation is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We, being in this new place, um, with so many people, and at first seeing it from the perspective of the other person,
Mm.
who they are, what are their, what is their background, what is their life about, and then and suddenly I went like, okay, why am I here with my own background, the differences that I bring, right?
Yeah,
Maybe sometimes even feeling fear at certain moments, right?
of course. Yeah.
And I go like, huh, why am I feeling that? That is strange. Is that a trauma that I bring of not being able to survive in places? Yeah. I started really questioning every single thing about how I was looking the outside, but from me. And then I went like, wow, I'm in such a perfect place. I love it. What a beauty, what a beauty to see myself different.
Mm.
What a beauty to see the common things in every person that I meet here, right?
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Permission to exist
Yes.
judgment free.
But it was all about me because I had a big trauma of survival
Mm.
care through my mom and things. And then I went like, oh, wow, this is wonderful. This is beautiful.
When you
This
can
is
truly see that painful experience as a teacher and really develop a deep gratitude for whatever that situation is, that's when you can experience true freedom.
yeah, yeah. I think life is such an amazing journey, and we learn to love ourselves a little more every day,
Yes.
just a little more. I have this thing my thought is when the moment where we love ourselves the most, and when we let go of this physical body, when we just let go.
Mm. That's
I have
beautiful.
that. Yeah. That's why I think death, what people call death, is a place of celebration, and more people are understanding that. The same that we were born and celebrated to come into this physical realm,
Yeah.
I celebrate that, right? Because celebrating that beautiful moment of lots of love,
Release.
release. Yeah, I think that's awesome. Uh, it's an incredible experience to be alive.
Well, I'm going to suggest that we close this particular conversation on that fantastic note, because it really is fantastic to be alive. Sabrina, thank you so much for sharing this conversation, this space with me, and for sharing so much of your beautiful soul with us.
Thank you. This was great. I loved our conversation, as
Well,
always.
hopefully we can do it again. So, um, for those of you who have tuned into our conversation, this has been The Secret of My Success, exploring what it means to live a fulfilling life. Please let us know what you think of the conversation. What topics would you like to hear about? Is there somebody in your life that you think would be fascinating to understand what their experience of life has been like? Let me know in the comments. Reach out through social media. I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Sabrina, again, thank you. This is Erin Curran signing off until next time.